made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, MoveWell University, the Black Diamond Club, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Element Mattresses, Imaging Services, Zinget Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 60 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke Millette. Here's your host Jim Chester.
Wow, 60 episodes. Today's guest was Roberto Monaco. If you want to know how to own the stage and deliver your message and become an influencer, listen to this episode. Roberto Monaco, you're not a chiropractor, so would you mind just sharing with us briefly what your chiropractic story is?
Yeah, my chiropractic story. My background, I work with the Anthony Robbins Companies for many years. My thing was I was doing around 400 talks a year promoting Tony Robbins events. So when I left Tony Robbins after 6 beautiful years, I opened up my company called Influenceology back in 2008. And one of my clients, his name was Gary Gunderson, he calls me up one day and said, "Hey man, you gotta work with chiropractors." And I'm like, at that time, I wasn't serving any chiropractors. I didn't understand anything about chiropractic. Years passed by, then Gary introduced me to a guy named Dr. Chris Zeno. Some of you know, Dr. Chris is my friend now. At one point, had one of the largest practices in America. At one point, I think he was seeing 2,400 people a week. And he hired me to help him convert more during his dinner with the doctor programs, during his group doctor's reports. So in a relationship, one day I told that at that time, my wife, she was having problem with her period. Basically, when I met my wife, we knew we're gonna get together, we knew we're gonna get married one day. So she stopped taking her birth control pills and her period never came back. And then we went to 4 different doctors, MDs, and they gave us all kinds of answers. You know, you got to stop doing yoga, you got to get more weight, and you're too stressed out, all those things, and nothing makes sense to us. And then Zeno said, "Hey, bud, go see a chiropractor." So the next day, I was living in San Diego at the time, I went to Dr. Ryan Hummel in San Diego, and both my wife and I took an x-rays, and we found subluxation in her lower back. She lost the curve of the neck, and we started chiropractic care. And a year passed by, 2 years passed by. We both felt amazing. We could sleep better. We didn't get sick anymore, but her period never come back. And I remember 3 Christmas ago, December 24th in the morning, I'm in San Francisco. Me and my wife, my mom, her mom, and my wife was sleeping, and we were drinking coffee. My mom, myself, and her mother, and my wife wakes up, goes to the bathroom, and opens the door, bawling, crying, like she barely could talk. And I said, "What happened, baby? What happened?" She goes, like literally, like, "Come on, what happened?" She goes, "I just got my period." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" She goes, "I'm sure." And then we hug and you cry. And then 8 months later, I just finished speaking for the Michigan Association of Chiropractors. And right after my talk, she said, I have a news to share with you. And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "I'm pregnant." Now, Jim, at that time, I had so many chiropractic influence in my life that I heard about chiropractic being amazing for pregnant woman. So we approached Dr. Ryan, say, "What are we gonna do?" He goes, "Man, we gotta come here, keep the care." And we kept. She was getting adjusted 3 times a week. Had an amazing pregnancy. Now, throughout all this process, a lot of chiropractors told us, "Hey, you have to watch the Business of Being Born, a movie on Netflix." By the way, if you haven't watched it, it's amazing. So we watched the movie. It's all about natural birth. I'm like, "Man, unbelievable. And my wife goes, "I want to have a natural birth now." And then we found a birth center. We took a class. We got to take a class in San Diego. And then eventually on August 2nd last year, 17, my wife in the labor, 22 hours, and at 10 o'clock, baby Sophia was born. Changed my life. And when Sophia was born, she wasn't crying powerfully like a baby should cry. She was like very kind of like, it felt like she had something stuck in her lungs. And the two midwife nurses approached us and said, look, if Sophia doesn't get better, we have to send her to the hospital because her oxygen levels were too low. And I'm like, okay, so they tried 2 natural interventions, nothing happened, and time was passing by. And I remember it was like 5 a.m. And we had until 10 a.m., right, to stay in the birth center, then we had to go to the hospital. And I'm like, man, you know what? I was planning to take Sophia to see Ryan, Dr. Ryan, but I want to text him. And I remember, Jim, grabbing my phone, and I said, hey, buddy, are you awake? Sophia was just born. Can you come here? And after 30 seconds, he said, I was waiting for the call. So half an hour later, he came up. He was working out, and he laid down Sophia in the bed and felt her neck. He said, man, she has her atlas subluxated. And I just heard gently, I mean, she's like literally, she was born at 10 p.m., 12 p.m. This is 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. And we just watched, right, the most precious thing. And then he waited maybe 3 minutes. I just heard again, gave baby Sophia to my wife, Katie, and baby Sophia goes, threw up this liquid that was stuck on her lungs. And she gave the most beautiful, powerful baby cry. I look at Ryan, and Ryan had tears coming down his eyes. He goes, did you see the power of Nate? And I'm like, holy, right? And then Ryan goes, man, I have to go. So he left, and let's say maybe 10, 15 minutes, her oxygen levels normalized. Now Sophia's good. The 2 midwife nurses came in and said, what happens? And I said, look, my chiropractor came here, detected a subluxation of her atlas bone. I just heard she threw up, she's fine. And they go, no, what really happened? And I'm like, my chiropractor came here, lay her down, found a subluxation in her atlas bone, adjusted her gently, she threw up the liquid that was stuck in her lungs, and now she's fine. And then, man, we were so happy. And then I go, after maybe 30 minutes, I go on my phone and I text Ryan. And I say, dude, you changed her life because she was going to go to the hospital. Thank you so much. And he said, man, this was after 30 minutes, right? He said, I'm still parked in front of the birth center because I'm crying, honoring the power of chiropractic. And you asked me why I work with chiropractors and why do I do what I do. It's because 2 days later, Jim, I went back home, and it's almost like the last 4 years in my life was passing my mind, almost like a movie, super fast. I mean, really fast. About my wife couldn't get her period, and then got pregnant, and then chiropractic care, and then natural birth, and Ryan's there, and then everything was coming together, and I realized something that's really powerful, that for us to take to have a natural birth in San Diego, in the birth center, we had to take a 8-week class. And in this class, we had 10 couples. And only one couple was under chiropractic care. Only one dad was being adjusted, only one mom was being adjusted, and only one baby was adjusted, which is my family. Which 1 out of 10. And if you read the chiroeconomics, they're going to say that around 12 to 14% of people on the chiropractic care. So my number matched their number. And that's why I do what I do, because I feel like this number should be 95%, 98%, or 100%, not 12%, not 1 out of 10. So that's why I combine 2 things that changed my life. One, my speaking skills. Now I have done over 4,500 talks in my career. Public speaking changed my life. And chiropractic later on changed the life of my family. So I combine 2 things that I love, and my mission is to help chiropractors communicate chiropractic at the highest level possible.
Powerful story. It's very seldom that people ever catch me lost for words. I'm a high-level communicator just like yourself. I can't say that I've done over 4,000 speaking gigs yet.
You've done 4,000 videos, I'm sure, buddy, by now. By now you're done, buddy. By now you've done more than 4,000 videos.
But the thing is paying attention. And I think that that's a skill set that gives you the leverage to be able to be a coach and to be able to be somebody that has influence on somebody else's ability to actually see the best in themselves and then produce. So
100%.
You said that you did work with Tony Robbins for 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years, yeah.
And now, how are you keeping the influence so high within the chiropractic space to continue on, having influence on people that maybe were scared or nervous, didn't know what power they possessed with their own voice, and now you're producing people into become high-level influencers and communicators? So
how I do it, that's the question, or what keeps me going, or my system, which one?
Well, I guess it was a pretty broad, my mind's going very quick with you.
That's okay, okay.
It was pretty broad.
Yeah, so I can answer both. So what keeps me my influence? So for me, I'm a guy of a purpose. I think something I learned from Gary Gunness, he said that money follows value, and for me, I like to deliver value, and I see it's almost a little selfish in a way. Is that I want to change the world, right? I want to help people, and the cool thing is that what keeps me excited is that when I see, and this is like the coolest thing. Every day I can go to Facebook, every single day. And I'm going to find at least one doctor either recording a video or doing a Dinner the Doctor program or doing a group talk or stress talk. And that doctor is helping their community, and a little bit of Roberto is with that doctor, if that makes sense. So that is my way of influencing, because when I work with the speakers now, and they're going to change, 100,000 lives. And if I work with hundreds of thousands of speakers, man, eventually I create a movement. So that's what I love to do, is the vision. It excites me. My vision for chiropractic, simple, is that my wife, she has this Health Cook magazine. Someone gave her as a present. So it's a subscription. So every month she receives like healthy recipes, right? This is a magazine about food. And the other day she opened up what kind of ads they're going to find in a health food magazine for drugs, right? So the drug companies have unlimited amount of money to brainwash people in a newspaper, on magazines, on TV, on radio. Unlimited amounts, unlimited, to pay off politicians, right? Yesterday I saw on Facebook, literally McDonald's ad offering free vaccination, right? They have money, they buy people out. So looking back at chiropractors, 50,000, what is our tool? Our tool is our mouth. Because with our mouth, we can communicate one-on-one, one-to-many, through video, through webinars, through podcasts, to groups. So my vision that I have, or my plan, is to help 50,000 chiropractors to become world-class communicators. Then you have a chance. That's my plan. It's very simple. Because if you have 50,000, can you imagine? Nobody can be as awesome as Jim Chester. Nobody can be, man. And I'm telling you, man, if you're listening to us podcast, Jim, you gotta love the guy, because I see a lot of chiropractors and leaders in the industry. There's one guy who out-hustle anybody. It's Jim Chester, man, because guys is a stud. But guys, I want to acknowledge you here, buddy, for all the work you do. But think about it. Can you imagine if you have 50,000 with your work ethic communicating? Right? Think about that. And that's the vision that drives me to get the influence going. That's not in a personal level. Right? In a personal level, that's what excites me.
Well, it's time for us to own the space, to be honest. And you say that there's so much money that they can pump in from the evil empire side of the health system, which is really a sick care system, which is really where they would have pushed your little daughter into if it hadn't been for the power of the adjustment.
100%.
I think right now it's more of a training people to have high self-esteem and to have high value in who they are to their community. And I think that that's something that you really are solidifying into the chiropractic space.
Yeah, one of the things that I think that when I work with a doctor, my goal is to help my goal, the end result, what I'm trying to accomplish with the doctor, is to make sure the doctor goes through an identity expansion. So by the time we are done with our coaching or event, whatever is the level of service you're providing, the doctor, he or she, expands from doctor of chiropractic into doctor of chiropractic and leader and speaker and educator. It's not changing who they are, it's expanding who they are. Because now, if you stop and you look at the definition of leader, a person who leads groups of people. And my goal through the workshops, through video marketing, through YouTubes and Facebook Lives and communication, when someone in their community think in terms about health and wellness, right, that doctor dominates. And that is the goal with the whole speaking and presentations and videos and talks. That is the goal, what it is to, and make sure too, which is important, a lot of doctors, and by my experience, man, it's almost like they know they have to speak because either they learned that in the college or when they go to school or in their coaching group. And as long as you think that you have to speak, you're not going to be successful. You want to speak because when you love speaking loves you back. And if you don't share your story, the marketplace will create one about you. And what the problem is that the reason medicine and traditional medicine and drugs companies put chiropractic in a box, right, is because most of us, you're too quiet for too long. Take care of our own bank account. And the truth is that we got to step up and get the message out to a higher level, So a few chiros do, but in my perspective, like less than 5%. So that's why, unfortunately, we don't. After 120? Correct me wrong. I know you know the number, Jim. I think 123 years chiropractic has been around.
Yes.
123.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 123. Man, do the math, right? 123, you have 12%. How many more years is it going to take to get the other 88%? 600 plus years? Are you willing to wait? Nobody's willing to wait. So what is going to change? I mean, for real. And like the BJ back in the day, guy had a radio station. On his business card, and I was presenting at Cow Jam and Focus, I showed this. On his business card, I say speaker. Right? Why? Because he knew back in the day that, man, you got to get the word out. And some of us were so afraid and have, like you said before, self-esteem issues that we don't step up. So I like to help the chiros. I have a framework I call the 7 Ps. We can get into it if you want to later, but that is bulletproof to help anybody to become successful.
Can you share with our listeners some of your favorite quotes and mantras that keep you so driven and that help with your commitment as a speaker and a coach?
Oh, I love it. So one of them I said by accident already is like, if you don't share your story, the marketplace create one about you, which means that we cannot allow the marketplace put us in a box. We have to be able to share a story. That's one. Number 2, don't speak to inform, speak to transform. Don't speak to inform, speak to transform, which means that Google, if you search anything, right? You can go to Google search, you're going to have a million entries or a billion entries on health and public speaking, right? So people don't want more information, they want a transformation experience. And so that's like when I speak, I always try, and I hope that someone out there is listening to this message, be like, man, this message resonates with me, you know? So I have my thing is like, man, I don't speak to inform, I speak to transform. That's another one. The speaker presents the message, the influencer is the message. What I say by that is that a lot of speakers, they're like, I want to present this message. The influencer, at the core, you are the message. That's why when Chiro comes to my class and when I help them, I realize, man, I'm going to ask you to talk about basically the things you do all day long, the patients you help, the questions they asks, the mistakes they makes, the areas they want to help, and because you live the message for 8 hours a day, you know what I mean? So it's not really, it's more about how you organize all those stories and the content and the framework that makes sense to people, you know?
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah, listening to
another one. So let me tell you another last one I remember here. I'm sorry, Jim. Now we got me going. And it has to do. With influence. Is that presentations and influence doesn't, right? Like, I hope that this podcast here eventually is going to end, but the influence on you, I hope never ends. I hope you get inspired. I hope you get this and say, you know what, I'm going to record my first video today, or I'm going to start re-recording again, or I'm going to schedule my next talk again. So then you do that, then you're going to have more patients, and eventually those patients are going to refer you more patients, right? So this podcast will end, this session here, but the influence of it on you will not.
Yeah, you said a lot of impactful stuff there. And I guess my next follow-up to the things that you shared with us is, how long does it take somebody, once they train with you, to get the confidence to own their own story, to become that speaker?
They asked me the question, how long is it going to take? And my question is, how long do you want to take? How long do you want it to take? Do you want to take like a week, a month, 10 years? Right? You know, buddy, when I train, so here's when I train people for Tony Robbins, I was speaking, and then I was hiring people, selecting speakers and train them. And they send me the resumes and all this impressive stuff and education. And obviously, legally, I had to consider that stuff. But I had one criteria only. I mean, only one. How committed are you? And people like, man, when I realized someone was committed, I would hire the person, and super fast, right? I'm talking about super fast. So when I say super fast, I can say in 2 weeks, I can get someone who never spoke before, someone who had no previous speaking experience, in 2 weeks to become a killer. I'm a killer, right? So it depends on the commitment to learn, the commitment to do the work, you know what I mean? And the cool thing about speaking is that you don't need a PhD, you don't need a degree. It's like you gotta have the methodology. So on my methodology, I call the 7 P's of persuasive communication, and the first P is about the presenter, right? Which means that I can teach all this cool stuff about storytelling, about framing, about asking questions, all this stuff. But if you don't have a really powerful psychology or presenter's mindset, you're not going to be able to embrace everything, all the information. So my first P, the presenter. So if you can get that aligned soon, you know, man, I can get, in 3 days in our class, I see breakthrough. I see people, several stories. One of them, Dr. Chelsea came, never spoke before, phobia of speaking, does a 3-day class, goes back home Tuesday, speak for the State Department, 9 people in the room, set up 13 appointments. How to explain that? Why? Because she owned her story. So, man, it can be super fast. Doesn't have to be, it's not like I'm not a psychiatrist that look in the past, man. I just understand it, and you're going to move forward. and I use my methodology to create change super fast.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that understanding where somebody's come from and where they can go is probably the greatest. Like it's almost like it's wizardry. Like you can put a spell on somebody and they can like learn how to unlock their own potential.
Dude, I love that. Well, it is kind of like I love what you said that, because it is kind of like words are powerful. You know, when I started my coaching business, training business in 2008, at that time, back in the day, I was doing the board break in my events. I was doing the arrow breaking, where you put the arrow in your throw and you break. I was doing that stuff. And then one day, I realized, no, man, there's a lot of people that came before me, Martin Luther King, for example, that changed the course of history with words and the passion and actions. I don't need that stuff. And so I stopped using props. By the way, I'm not bashing people who use, not at all. But I say, you know what? If I'm going to teach people how to influence, how to become an amazing communicator, I don't need that stuff. So I drop it. And words are really powerful, you know, especially if you organize them. And as a coach, in the beginning, you have to believe more in your clients than they believe themselves. I have a quote, Jim, that I say, know who they are, but speak to who they will become. Let me explain again. Know who they are, but speak to who they will become. Which means that I know who they are, but I'm speaking, I see them in the end of my result. I see them crushing from stage. I see them crushing a podcast, crushing a radio station, crushing I see the end result. They don't see yet. So I know who they are, but I'm going to speak to who they will become. So they will become an influencer. They will become a teacher. They will become a speaker. So I'm speaking to that. I'm already ahead, expanding their identity. So by the time you're done, they'll be like, it's almost in your words, I put a spell on them. So I guess you're right, buddy. I guess you're right.
Yeah, but it's the person has it inside of them.
100%. It has to be unlocked.
It just lays dormant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't know how to escape. It's kind of like they're subluxated from their own potential.
They are. They are. They are. They definitely are.
And you know, the same for me, Roberto, is I've been in chiropractic for 8 years now. And
wow.
Yeah, and you know, working in the office, selling chiropractic, making films, running podcasts, doing interviews. 8 years ago, I had this trembling desire inside of me to make chiropractic mainstream. I had this trembling desire inside of me that with no money in my pocket, I was going to put the pieces of the puzzle together in order to build influence and to build a team around me that believed in my greater vision, which was to make a film on chiropractic. And I worked tirelessly night and day in order to figure out how to market and brand this thing with no money in my pocket. And it doesn't matter how much of a resource we have in our bank account if it doesn't matter if we have passion in it. And
dude, I love that.
You can tell when somebody comes to the marketplace that has head and shoulders passion, content driven above anybody with the financial status. The person,
100%.
It's always grit, man. It's that blue collar blood that pumps through my veins. It tells me that
I love it.
I'm gonna outwork anybody until the point where I exhaust the marketplace to where people say thank you.
Dude, and I know it's funny. I don't know, and it's funny because I feel like I hang out so much with you because every event I go, you're there. And I remember, wasn't the last event the focus was
sushi before that?
It was I think it was the Palmer, the rugby Palmer.
That was the first time we actually met each other.
Yes. So I remember I was in my room and I'm rehearsing, like, oh man, I'm tired, I'm rehearsing. I go to Facebook and boom. Jim was there in Facebook Live. And I'm like, man, he's out to work me right now, man. Come on. And then I went back and started rehearsing my talk again. So you inspire me, buddy. You inspire me, man.
And that's just it. Is strength. Attracts strength.
That's it.
And when you
Iron sharps iron.
and when you see somebody that has the potential inside of them, like you see their story written before they actually write it, and you see their potential being met before they actually know who they'll become.
Yeah.
And I think that we can say a lot about ourselves from that stance. Like, years ago, Luke didn't even know what chiropractic was, and he walked around with migraine headaches constantly.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's a secret beside Luke's story, too, is until he met me and found out how passionate I was about this profession of chiropractic, he was making film productions for, like, school musicals.
Wow, very interesting.
And working at the couple of the three largest theater houses in the Chicago area, doing plays.
That's cool. So what's the vision for Chiro Hustle, man?
That's a good question for both of us, I guess. I'll take my first half of that, and then I'll pass it on to Luke and see what his vision is, because it's important for us to share this as well. I look at it as a hub of influence to where eventually we'll have student reps at all the schools. We've already got 3 committed, and eventually we'll have 18 stateside. So we have a short list that we're making to get Chiro Hustle student reps that qualify to represent our brand, and
cool.
Building them into podcasters after 90 days of service to us by sharing our content. Now we're going to teach them how to become influencers in their local market and really shine their college the right way to the community by interviewing community leaders with good businesses.
Dude, what a cool idea, buddy. What a cool idea, man.
So that's just one layer of how to build more influence with our brand and market, and to build sweat equity appreciation for the people on our team. And they get to actually get more out of being with us than they would doing any other club in school, I think, because we're going to teach them how to become media influencers.
That's cool. I love that. Man, you change those students' lives on a level they want to be thankful forever, man. Forever. So cool.
Yeah, so that's just one chapter of like the idea behind it, but eventually we're going to roll out a program for a digital ad agency where by the time your episode comes out, we're going to teach, we're not reinventing the wheel here, but what we're doing is we're going to start bringing on clients like what you have, and you're going to be like, oh, you want to have a Facebook presence with marketing properly, you want to have an Instagram presence with marketing properly, and you want to have reviews, and you want to have a YouTube presence with marketing properly. So we're going to start Chiro Hustle Digital Ad Agency.
That's cool.
We're going to, take a space where I think has a lot of influence from not chiropractic geared people. They're not like chiropractic, like pumping blood through their veins of chiropractic. They're marketers. Yeah. They're salespeople. Yeah. They're coming into the chiropractic space trying to make a living for themselves through the chiropractic network when they really don't eat, sleep, and breathe the chiropractic philosophy, science, and art like we do. Yeah. So I think, coming into it from another angle is giving value to the people that need our services. They can find integrity with what we do.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, MoveWell University, the Black Diamond Club, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Element Mattresses, Imaging Services, Zinget Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle.
I love that. And plus, dude, you built up an awesome brand, so you walk the talk too, buddy. You really walk the talk.
So let's open it up to Luke and have his answer.
I really don't know what the hell Chiro Hustle is going to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years. I have no idea. I do know that Chiro Hustle will eventually become the primary driving force of getting chiropractic over the tipping point. That's
cool. So whatever whatever the strategy doesn't matter, is the end result that matters.
Yeah, and I think massive influence with our direction is something that people are going to in 10 years say, wow, those guys were working so hard for the message and the future of chiropractic. And it's always the days in between that no one notices to when the day that you get the big award. You know,
Yeah.
it's the days in between the celebrations that we pay attention to the most, I think.
That's true. You know, you said something when like the speaking part. You know, you go in and speak and you crush it, man. But that's for me personally. Be on stage for an hour, 4 hours, or a day, or 20 minutes. That's the real reward part. You know, that's nothing. That is like, okay, Roberto, you're a good boy. You did your work outside and nobody was watching. That's the reward part. You know, I love what you said because you know all the hard work comes when people are not watching, man. Tony Robbins once said that, a quote that was really powerful. He said, "You get rewarded in public by how you practice in private." You know, and I'm like, man, so much sense. So you get rewarded in public by how you practice in private. So that's why, for example, the last talk I did, man, 7 times. I mean, literally, I go over 7 times my talk before I speak on the stage. 7 times, the whole from A to Z, minimum, at the least, minimum. That's like my standard minimum. You know, if the talk is brand new, I never done it or never tell the stories, more. And then, but people always ask me, dude, what is the best? Like today, got a speaking gig, didn't do anything, just came to my email. People say, what is the best way? Chiropractors ask me to get speaking gig, and I said, what do you think that is? And they give me 10 answers. Like, no, the most effective way to get speaking gigs to become an amazing communicator. Do you feel like the best communicators in the world, Tony Robbins, Joe Osteen, all these guys? Do you feel like they get invitations to speak? How often? Every day. Why? World-class communicators. So you got to work on that first, because all we need, man, you do a one talk. I have a story that one of my favorite stories in my career. Back in 2000, and I'm gonna make sure that in 2010. Someone called me I was doing a lot of work at mortgage industry at that time. So they called me up 2010. I was living in San Diego, and they said, hey, you want to come here and speak in Atlanta? I say, yeah, of course. How much you pay for speakers? Oh, we're not paying for speakers. I say, okay. Are you paying for hotel? No. Airfare? No. I say, okay. So you want me to go to San Diego to Atlanta a day, speak and come back at least 2 days, and you're not speaking for airfare, hotel, or my speaking fee? Yep. I say, okay, well, at the least can I promote my stuff, right? And he goes, no. It's a non-profit event. And I'm like, damn it. So I hang up. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. But then I have this belief that I say, man, I always say yes to presentation opportunities. So I call the guy back up and say, you know what, buddy? I changed my mind. So I did this talk in January 2010, okay? And then right after, I met this guy. His name is Carl White. Basically, he owns one of the largest coaching groups in the mortgage space up to this day. And he said, man, that was amazing. Can you do a webinar next week for my group and you can sell anything? And I said, what? Yes. Now, from that talk, okay, by the way, when I do a live presentation, guys, I have the slides to prove. From that talk, I got 34 speaking gigs. Some paid, some free that I could sell, plus coaching clients, 34. And the last one that I did was this year, 2008, my first time speaking for a mortgage company in Alabama. They paid me for a full day. I went there in Huntsville, Alabama, 2008. So because one talk I gave in 2010, I've done all these talks and still going. 2018, I still going. And here's the lesson. You are one presentation away from change your life forever. You are one presentation away from changing the lives of your audience forever. People say, look, Jim, which one is going to be? Well, I don't know. I'm not a magician, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. But here's what I know. you show up with a certainty and passion and the commitment to serve, right, is going to happen.
You know, the things that you say make so much sense to me that early on, no one knew who we were. And I just started lining up more interviews than anybody else could handle. And we were doing sometimes 4 a day, you know. And now we've kind of, toned down a little bit, but we still put out more content than anybody else. But what happened then is when the film came out, there was a guy from England that said, hey, I want you to come and show your film to our group, and I want you to do a presentation to a group of 300 chiropractors in London.
That's amazing, dude. That's amazing.
And at that time, I mean, I was a guy that talked a lot to people, but I wasn't a guy that got up and spoke in front of a room full of 300. So I'm sure I could have done better with like the hook at the end or selling from the stage or leading from the front, whatever we want to say. But I told a real story. I told a story about how I grew up in Iowa in the shadows of Palmer College of Chiropractic. And at that point, I think I scheduled in over 1,000 chiropractic patients in the first year that I was out selling chiropractic. But I had a chance to tell them the story about why we communicate subluxation so well as non-chiros, and why it's important for chiropractors to step up and communicate subluxation, but not to like drill it over people that aren't ready, but to tell the truth of what chiropractic is and what it does. Like your first story about it helped your wife, it helped your daughter, it helped you have a more dynamic life. And you know, I can just think about those thousands of people that I didn't schedule in that had an interaction with me and had a chance to see me public speak one-on-one to them. And over, if you think about the 2,500 people I scheduled in 36 months.
That's amazing, buddy.
In 36 months, think about all the people that I had a chance to practice public speaking skills to that didn't convert. So I look at, what we have the opportunity of doing is teaching people how to get out to their community and speaking one-to-one. And like you said, that person brought in 13 new patients from a one-to-many speaking engagement. So when you get a chance to get palm to palm with somebody and meet them heart to heart, and then you get to bring them in and get knee to knee with them, now you get inside of their personal space. And the idea is to have 7 influential touches with somebody before they become a conversion. And that's the idea of doing business and getting one person to say yes. You have to work with somebody 7 times and can continuously have influence with them, and high leverage influence, not just I see you and I wave to you, but these are like, I'm sending you an email, I'm shaking your hand, I'm touching you on the back, I'm having a day 1, a day 2 with you, I'm following up with a text message reminder. Like there's a certain strategy like you have with the 7 Ps in order to get somebody to prepare themselves to become the influencer.
100%.
And I recommend everybody out there to get out of your own way, to go out there and serve your community and to feel uncomfortable, because when you feel uncomfortable, that's when you start to grow. That's when you start to become the real version of yourself that you're supposed to be, the person that Roberto doesn't see until you turn into the person that you're supposed to become. And I see the potential in so many people also. And it's not just the doctor's potential. I see the person that needs the care's potential.
I love that, buddy.
And I asked them some questions, Roberto. I asked them, are you doing anything to help this? Have you injured yourself? Have you ever considered chiropractic? At that point, I close everybody.
I love it, man.
Because
I love it.
They tell me what their deep-rooted concern is. And I'll tell you this, too. This is a hack for everybody out there. No one will ever tell you anything that they don't want to share with you. People are only willing to talk to you and to tell you things that they want to open up with. If not, there's the 3 levels of people. I don't know if you know this, Roberto, but there's things they will tell you, things that they won't tell you, and things that they'll never tell you. So if you can get people conversational on the things that they will tell you, and you can get to a solution quickly, now you have the potential to have influence on somebody's future outcome. And that's really what chiropractic is about. It's not about the treatment. It is about the adjustment, but it's about the outcome after somebody takes care.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all pre-framing, like you say, but it's all practice. It's repetition.
Yeah, man, I can tell you that, man, when you're doing your screenings, you used to own that thing, huh? Do you still do that or no? You stopped doing it?
I do some, but it's honestly, it's not something I'm going to really crank up again until it's my own office.
Okay.
So we'll be opening up offices in the future as well. So I'll go back to the turf. I'll go back.
Okay.
I'll go back full on growing a practice and harvesting my community to grow the practice of our dreams to where we can have the influence in our small area to grow outward.
I love that. Grand Junction, Colorado, they're coming for you. They're coming for you. Just wait.
So we should transition into the next question, and I just know that we're gonna probably go overboard with our time commitment to each other. So I'm gonna try to let it to roll fluid on, but Luke will go up next with you.
So what would the chiropractic profession accomplish if everyone followed your coaching advice?
Man, I feel that if most of chiropractors were to embrace leadership, embrace public speaking, embracing going out and communicate to businesses, doing workshops, embracing doing internal lectures to educate so that the people are not quitting care, to increase PVA, embracing using video marketing to do, for example, video retention programs that we teach, to do ongoing content marketing. I would say that 12 or 10% of people that are in chiropractic care, it's hard to predict, obviously, man, but the vision to be close to 90 or close to 100% with less people taking drugs and doing surgery, and chiropractors become the primary doctor. I think that's the vision. Man, everybody's in the chiropractic care. You go to a chiro, you do wellness care, and you reduce your insurance because now you don't get as sick, you don't take drugs anymore. Obviously, for emergencies, the medical system is there. They're amazing. But I think that would be the vision, And I feel like some chiros are actually, I haven't seen any chiro who is doing big things in terms of like having a lot of patients, producing the results, and retaining them. That doesn't do any type of group communication. I haven't. If you haven't met one guy, introduce me. I haven't met. All the doctors that I've seen that really, man, they're seeing a lot of people. They are not only seeing, but they're taking care of them. They're teams, right? In that team, you're going to have one or two doctors who are doing outside marketing speaking. They're doing internal lectures, and they create that coach inside the office. So the vision to be, if everybody followed that, man, would be where chiropractors become the primary doctor, which really means that less people are taking drugs, surgery, and more people are expressing their full potential. Because that's chiropractic about is not when you express things that a subluxated person cannot express. So you're expressing and you're functioning, operating, and thinking at an entire new level. More creativity, more passion, more vision, more of a human being, showing up. So I think that would be the vision.
More human potential.
Yeah, more human potential for sure.
So at this juncture, I'm going to go off script just a little bit, and I'm going to ask you a question you might not be prepared for, but what is the most influential thing to happen in the chiropractic industry over the past decade?
Man, I've been in chiropractic for 5 years, so I can speak for
half a decade.
The last 5 years. So I think the most influential thing that I seen in chiropractic, man, I gotta give credit to Billy DeMoss, man, because that guy, Dr. Billy DeMoss, Cow Jam, and the impact he's creating by bringing people that awesome chiropractic leaders. He opens to the public. He brings people to that support the chiropractic lifestyle message. Some doctors don't like to use the chiropractic lifestyle. Man, I feel like in terms of influence and the global impact that CalGem has, I would say personally, from what I've seen, man, it's beautiful. And I know Billy, man. I know him for many years. And here's a guy that this weekend at Focus, he was out there passing flyers, sell CalGem tickets. I mean, literally hustling. In my eyes, I respect him at the highest level, man, because he put his neck on the line. He walks his talk. He's vocal about it. And he just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So personally, Dr. Billy DeMoss, I love you, boy, for listening to it. It's just a pure inspiration, man. And by the way, there's so many other leaders too in chiropractic that deserve the credit, that doing amazing work as well. But from my perspective, in terms of like influence, right? Like you go 3,000, and I know because, for example, I brought my wife, right? So my wife changed careers. My wife decided to become a holistic nutritionist. Decided to have a birth in a natural birth. We didn't vaccinate Sophia. All this stuff because CalGem, man, because I was exposed to these principles and speakers, and it was beautiful. So big credit to Billy DeMoss.
Can you share some of your favorite key marketing strategies with our listeners? What do you use to market yourself and your coaching program?
For me, I do. I see marketing more like if you get the best boxer in the world and the best MMA fighter, and you put like all categories from 125 all the way to heavyweight. So you have the 10 best boxers and 10 best MMA fighters, and they fight. Who's going to win all the time? The MMA fighter. I guarantee. In a real fight, guarantee. Why? Because they have more tools. It's not, right? They know how to kick and jiu-jitsu and grappling. So they have more tools. They want to win. So in marketing, I don't rely on one thing only. I have a couple core things that I do. Number one, by far, is speaking, by far. I do a lot of online stuff, by far. And Dan Kennedy, which is like the father of marketing in America, and he said something years ago that changed or inspired me to do what I do. He said, for years, I track everything that I do, right? All the marketing strategies. And I ask myself, what is the marketing strategy that produce my best clients, the clients who pay me the most, right? And the clients who pay me the most where they come from, what is the lead? And was from speaking. Why? Because that is the first encounter that someone has with you. Follow me? So the first time they see you wasn't a video, wasn't a post, wasn't a mailer, wasn't newspaper, was TV, was live. And they're live, and you have this human-to-human interaction, like Jim was saying. And that's those clients historically are the ones who pay me the most. So that's why I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So speaking, number one. Two, video marketing. I have 2 channels on YouTube. One is Influenceology, one is Chiro Speaking. This weekend I was talking to Dr. John Bergman, which is amazing. I know, Jim, you're hanging out too, and I'm sure you're going to interview him. Maybe you already interviewed him, Dr. John Bergman. But here's the guy who, man, 2 years ago, he was getting an average 6 new patients a day from YouTube. Now it's out of control, right? He gets he said, his words, quote, hundreds of calls a day. And you want to call his office, he's booking a year in advance. So video, I'm a big advocate for content marketing. My goal is to record 2 videos. I record videos, I put on YouTube, put on Facebook, put on LinkedIn, put on my blog, email my list. So I do that. So that's so speaking, video, And then we do webinars too. So we're committed to do every week do a webinar for our list. So I do presentations. So obviously do a little bit of Facebook ads and things like that and Instagram. But the core 3 things we do: speaking, video marketing / email marketing, and you do webinars, presentations online.
Sounds like a good package, man. You definitely probably have talked to some really influential people that said, "Hey, Roberto, do this."
Yeah. Well, the idea. I mean, there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of different. Some people master different avenues. You know. I knew a doc one time and say, "Man, I'm crushing at Pinterest." I'm like, "Come on, man." He goes, "Dude, that's all I do." So I guess I got has to do like, man, you can become really good at one thing, right? I just I'm a biased, you know, because I teach speaking, and here's what it is in my philosophy: speaking has been around 382 BC, before Christ. There's Aristotle wrote the first book called Rhetoric, and if you think about it, at that time, this is before Christ. 382 BC, in ancient Greece, if you got in trouble, you as the head of your family, you're going to go to a counselor and tell your story. At that time, some people couldn't speak, then you're in trouble. You had to hire a profession called rhetors, and rhetors were speakers that spoke on your behalf. Now, eventually, rhetors became lawyers. So that was like, what, almost 400 years before Christ. So if you look at through history, speaking, people have used from Hitler to Mother Teresa to Martin Luther King to Steve Jobs. The good and the bad have used speaking to influence masses. And now with the open platform, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Facebook video, YouTube video, Instagram, LinkedIn. Right? One of my clients today gave me this idea. He goes, man, in South America, by the way, in South America, they use WhatsApp. Right? That's the texting service. He goes, man, what we do here, we record a video and you blast lists of people, their cell phones. It's way faster. I'm like, never thought about that. Right? Because they do that on WhatsApp. And I'm like, unbelievable. So the idea is that, but again, the core, the foundation, is my belief system is a man or woman with a powerful message, open up the mic and you go. And the beauty about technology, like you're doing right now here, this podcast is going to be, I hope we're going to have a ton of downloads, and it's going to be in eternity here in history because we open up the mic and you share our heart. So speaking for me, and I see different platforms on how you utilize that.
Yeah, I think you said some really good stuff in there, and anybody that listens to this episode is going to have some takeaways, and they're going to feel some fire. And it's not about being busy; it's about being fired up with life. And I think that's circling back full circle from our original conversation off of record. And let's not get busy, but let's stay on fire. And
that's it, baby. I love it. I love it.
And I know
I'm on fire. That's it. I love it.
And I know that we're coming up on the edge of our time with you today, but I want to ask you one last question: is what do you listen to, and what gets you, or what do you listen to or read that gets you fired up to keep your momentum going?
Man, I have a membership from Audible.com, and for the last 3-4 years, so I have 2 credits every month. So I am addicted to Audible.com. I read a lot of books. Currently, I'm reading Impossible to Ignore. So it's kind of like a neuroscientist talks about how to use neuroscience to create amazing content, talks and everything. It's called Impossible to Ignore. Highly recommend. But I listen to pretty much everything that has to do with mindset, communication, storytelling, influence. Then I put my hands on. So, and sometimes I read more like technical books, or kind of like one time I was in a seminar and I listened to Jeffrey Gitomer. He was speaking after me. And then he said this, he said, I read old books to get new ideas. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That's good. So in my desk here, I have the first volume of a public speaking course written, right? Besides the Aristotle's Rhetoric, was a 5-volume, book. So sometimes I browse like really old stuff. I mean, really like old stuff, and you're reading, man. And it's fascinating because you go back 100, 200 years ago, and like, wow, people were thinking that way. How far? In some of these books, they're talking about one day you're going to have the internet. I mean, literally, they're talking stuff like that. One of my books talk about, man, time during this slavery. I mean, because the books are so old, but that caused me to think about, like, to have a different perspective. So anything that in my field, the public speaking, communication, neuroscience, influence, storytelling, mindset. I like marketing too, so stuff like that. I love it,
So what's one final piece of advice that you would give our audience so that they can learn how to take control of their own destiny?
Okay. One piece of advice is this. I'm gonna be speaking to 2 chiropractors here. One who's not speaking, one who is speaking. If you're not speaking, then schedule your first call, your first talk for the next, 3 weeks. Even if the only person who shows up is your dog, doesn't matter. Schedule and do it. Schedule and do it. Because just the act of committing, and now I have to prepare, and now I have to promote, and now we gotta, do Facebook ads or videos or inviting people or sending mails, get flyers, get your team involved. Just that fact of like, okay, let's do it. You're gonna create movement, right? It's killer. Number 2, if chiropractors who are speaking and they say I want to speak more. I mean, literally, I asked this question 2 weekends ago for 500 chiropractors, and just one raised their hand. I asked, how many of you here want to get more speaking gigs? Everybody raise your hand. And then I said, okay, how many of you here currently have a speaker page? And one person raised their hand. Then I said, if I were to call your office right now and say, hey, this is Roberto Monaco here. Let's say you never heard about my services or me. And I say, I want to go and speak to you and your team on leadership. Then before you say, yeah, I want to hire you, let's go, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Google and check me out, right? So when your patients refer you to speak in a corporation, or when you're trying to get speaking gigs, that's exactly what's happening. They'll be like, who's this person? Because now you're not going as a doctor chiropractic only, you're going as a doctor chiropractor and speaker. So step number 1 for you, for those who are speaking right now, man, you got to come up like a speaker page. So how do you do it? I want you to go and copy the elements of my speaking page. Just go to chirospeaking.com, chirospeaking.com, and you're going to see a tab there, and you're going to see speaking. You click on it, see what I did. There's an introduction video, my story, my topics, testimonials. Copy and paste, put your own words, obviously, right? And then you got to have a professional speaker page if you're serious about getting speaking gigs.
Well, Roberto, I just want to say, man, we had a lot of fun with you today. I picked up on a lot of tips and strategies from you, and I might be one of your students to come here in the future so I can make a more impact with the people that need my voice.
100%. Much love to both of you, man. Jim and Luke, and I said this before, and I say again, I haven't met anybody in Chiro, man, who's hustling as hard as you guys. You deserve the success, you deserve the credit, and you deserve the love from all chiropractors, CAs, students, and the chiropractors advocate like myself, the respect, the love to both of you. So thank you.
And also the last people is the patience, because that's how we get to that tip. That's how we get to that tipping point.
That's it, the patience.
Well, Roberto, I know we had a lot of fun here today, and it's been an honor having you on our show today.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate that. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
And I'll close out by saying you're just one story away. Keep hustling.
Boom. One story away, baby. That's it.
See you, brother.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.